Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the call. I just want to make sure that we are audible and you can see us over the screen. You can use the chat if you wish, just to make sure that we are audible. Okay, amazing. Thank you, Ayman. Thank you. We will start in a bit. Just I want to give additional 2 minutes or 3 minutes, if you can bear with us a bit, and then we will start today's masterclass. Thank you. Okay, so thank you again, everyone, for joining today's call. I believe it's a call that everyone usually waits to see and to know more about. Usually, what is pentest and why now Mo is putting this kind of cap and this kind of mystery person behind a laptop with a title of pentest. So thank you again all for joining today's call, today's masterclass. It will be around pentest, which is more known as penetration test for customers, for companies, for all layers of businesses, not only for large businesses or medium, even small businesses and startups requires to do penetration test for them to cover themselves. So just before we go into the details of it, I would like just to give a small intro about Shell. Shell, we are a European company based in Cyprus. We are selected as a top managed cybersecurity services in Europe. We are GDPR certified, ISO 27001 certified. We are always looking for the change of the nature of what we are seeing around with this, what we call it, fourth maybe or fifth in that industrial revolution with the AI, machine learning, big data, everything is in place. And this is increasing constantly the threatening intelligence and the attacks of these components. Usually we focus again on our customers' security posture, and we deal with our customers as our own partners, to be honest, just to make sure that we are giving them the value that they want. As I said, basically, and in today's digital world, this is like a small intro of what we was stating while we invited you to join this pentest. This is the cybersecurity threats that we're seeing along the way, the evolving of it, the availability of a new ATPs, of a new attackers. We always have in mind the idea, who are these people and why they are doing the hacking, and what are these abilities? Are they from a different world, a different mindsets? And we start to ask ourselves these kinds of questions. What differentiate these people on different cybersecurity personnels and professionals? So in today's session, which is more interactive and just to pinpoint on the importance of pen test and to pinpoint on why we usually do pen test and from a proactive perspective. So basically today's session we will provide you like a bit about penetration test and the importance and the criticality of it to cover the organizations and to cover customer security standpoint. I will give you a bit about the types of hackers, which most of you, I believe, is waiting to hear about and to understand a bit about the mindset of hackers. There is something in the word they always say, put yourself in the shoes of the other person to understand the way of how he thinks and how he acts. So today we will put ourselves in their shoes to understand how they act, what they do, and to understand why penetration testing is important for clients, customers, organizations to always be proactive. We will also talk about their tactics. Will be tackled by Tega. He will later on cover more and more about the technical aspects of it. We will talk a bit about the different type of penetration testing that we have in place. We will tackle about the importance of this penetration test for the CISO standpoint and CISO point of view to check why the CISO usually requires to have these pen tests in place in his organization to ensure that he can sleep well at night and nobody can call him just to mention that, oh, we have this big or a huge kind of an attack on our environment. Please, we want the team to be alerted, to jump in, to support, to give us what we can do to correlate, to contain, and to do these all aspects. Then we will give the methodologies and we will put a bit some focus on the reconnaissance phase and its importance. This will be covered again technically by Tega later on. And finally, Tega will pinpoint a bit the difference between and the importance between what we have as a rule of engagement and all our kind of tests. So why we have something called mobile pen test, why we have something called API. What is API? We don't usually hear previously about API. Now we're hearing a lot about API. Why we have something called API pen test now? Web application pen test, internal, external. What's the difference between them? So we will jump over all of these aspects within today's masterclass session. So now to go in action, penetration test. We are always hearing these since the beginning of our understanding about IT, about the field, technical aspect of it, that we have something called penetration test. I used to hear this a lot, but to be honest, I used to hear it maybe 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, or 15 years back, just from the aspect of compliance and regulation. Okay, we have to do this pen test because it's a requirement and we need to have this as a tick in box. Basically, the tick in box thing in place used to be something important in the back days, but in the evolving nature of what we have as technologies, as now everything is getting into more online kind of collaboration between the customer and client. In the back days, it was more as face-to-face and physical interaction. If you want to have to buy a thing, usually you need to go to the store to buy it, to pay for it. Now we have more mobile applications and web applications to go and just buy things from them, from there, to pay your stuff, to put your card there. Oh, put your card. I have to stop here. It's something that might be alerting. Imagine if you have your own card, your own salary, everything is your savings, everything is in this card. Imagine for a specific gap in a specific web application that you're trying to do a payment on it. out of a sudden you find that this card is leaked somehow, and someone else is buying his dream kind of car, or his dream kind of maybe PS4, PS5, I don't know, but in a huge number. So you will start to say, what's happening? How is this happening? So this is usually the collateral damage that we usually call and state out of these web applications and mobile applications. So now, again, to get back to the penetration test, the importance of it is to catch and be more proactive on all of these kind of gaps, risks, and to help organizations to be more and more close to their customers and provide them the relief, or to provide them not the relief, what should I call it? The focus, or the trust between this client to customer, or customer to company related, specifically when the companies are and organizations are customer oriented, like financial institutions, like telecom institutions, which are really huge institutions in place. So this is penetration test in a bit. So we put ourselves in the shoes of a real hacker. We will try to attempt a real life scenarios as a hackers to see where we can reach from point A to which other point, to see if a real hacker really is trying to do a specific attack on this specific tool, where he can reach, what he can get, what impact it can affect, and what things can be reached out of this kind of attack, specifically in this data protection world now. So every country now all around the world is working on a specific internal data protection regulation, and it's consecutively monitoring the data of the people inside the country. After we've seen a lot about GDPR, about let's say in Africa we have a lot, in Nigeria we have NDPR, in Saudi we have the PDPL, and other regions inside the GCC we have also another kind of data protection aspects. Now, talking a lot about pen tests, now we have to know, to understand, who are these hackers. And if you can see the mask in my picture, and I believe if you guys like to watch series or movies, there was like a series back then by Rami Malek called Mr. Robot. He pinpoint a lot about hacking and about hackers, the mindset, and how they do actions to reach for their goals and their aspects. So now the type of hackers. Let's go and dig more deeper to see around us. Maybe us, we are like a hacker, but we don't know directly that we are hackers, but we are the good aspect of the hackers, not the bad ones. So now to jump into the first type, which is the white hat hackers. White hat hackers usually are the ones that are ethical hackers, that go always to work with companies like us to support organizations, companies, or maybe they work on their own to catch flags or to catch certain vulnerabilities, to report them, to get paid on them, because this is something that we usually see. So white hat hackers, whenever someone say that I'm a white hat hacker, you should be good. He's not like a bad person. He's not like someone trying to harm or to do any kind of bad effect on you guys. So it's okay. White hat hackers are good people. Now, black hat hackers. It's the completely opposite. Whenever you see that someone called himself as a black hat hacker, this means he's bad. He is always trying to affect organizations, do attacks on them, try to get everything he can get out of these organizations. We will see later the different mindsets and the different aspects of how usually they can do that. And basically, the aim of this black hat hackers is just to harm the organizations from different areas, different perspectives, and to be aligned with his mindset ideas and with his mindset kind of objectives that he want to do. It could be for money, it could be for reputation, it could be for data, specific kind of data, it could be for a specific revenge. So depends on what is the reason behind this black hacker doing the action. Now to jump a bit into the gray. The gray, when you have like two circles and you have this intersection between these two circles. So we have the white circle, the black circle, and we have the intersection is the gray hat hacker, which we mostly see that he's trying to be a white hat hacker, an ethical hacker, but at some time things might push him more into the black hat hacker. So usually these guys should be looked at, should not provide, we should not provide these guys usually with the trust, because we cannot know at any point they can switch to the black, at any point they can switch to the white hat hackers. Now, script kiddies. Script kiddies are those people that they have the base kind of knowledge, and they always think that they are the best hackers around the world, and they can go and hack anything in place. But indirectly, they always put traces. They always be catched, blocked. They always can't get any kind of data, any successful attempt. But script kiddies can, with time, be a black or gray or white, depends on their intentions and their ideas. Now, hacktivists or state-sponsored hackers or cyber terrorists. These three, I would like to mention them together in the same pot at the end of the day, because the hacktivist and the state-sponsored and the cyber terrorist, they are all related to a certain cause or a certain thing in place that triggers them to do the attack. Basically, the nation state actors or the APTs are these actors that we as a blue team, or not we as Shield, I mean now in the cybersecurity world and the blue team world, they usually, whenever they hear about the APT, they will go and try to open their eyes, have the cup of black coffee, because they will stay up for 24 hours just to know what's happening around. So usually these people are sponsored, paid. They are a bit like as if you have like a company, a structured company. You have the CFO, you have the CEO, you have the technical people, the team lead. You have people related for web, people related for mobile, and like weekly targets, weekly updates, paid tools. So this is why we are always afraid about these APTs, aside of hacktivists and terrorists, because they are a bit similar, but each one have a specific intention. Insider threats, it's when you have someone inside the organization that you don't know that this someone have an intention to harm the organization or to harm the data, to leak the data, to get the data. Not only data, maybe leaking info, maybe leaking a certain thing that might harm the reputation, that might get a certain organization to lose a certain contract with a possible hot deal or whatever. So we always have this insider threat risk that we should also monitor. Red hat hackers are those who are the black hat hackers but doing the counter attack, as if you are playing football and the coach states, okay, now we need to defend, but we need to do counter attacks. So red hat hackers are those people that are waiting for the attacks coming from the bad people to do a counter attack on the bad people. So they are just playing the game on each other to just state who will win the league at the end of the day and who will be first. Green hat hackers are the people that wants to learn about hackers like you guys on the call. They don't have any bad intentions. They just need to hear to know what kind of hackers we have in place, and what usually they do, and how can we learn about their abilities. Are they from Earth or from Moon? So they always have these questions to be answered and replied. So this is basically in a brief, the type of hackers that we try to put ourselves in their shoes. Um, and the pen test, rarely we put ourselves in the shoes of hacktivists or state-sponsored or APTs or cyber terrorists. We just depends on the scope of the pen test. We try to be like an insider threat whenever we need to do an internal pen test. Later on, Tega will tackle this in brief. We will try to put ourselves in a black hat hacker when we try to do from an external. We try to put ourselves in the gray hat hacker when we do a specific gray box. So later on, guys, Tega will go into the details of it more and more. Now, as an approach, type and an approach. So to link to the type of hackers we have in place, just let me cover the first, the type of the approach that we usually do in the penetration test. And our penetration test, we have three different types: the black box type, the white box type, and the gray box type. I will start as a leveling perspective, from bottom down to reach to the higher level of pen test from an efforts perspective. The less effort perspective that usually we do is the black box pen test, because usually we don't care about having information from the organization to understand their structure, their business, their flow. All we care about is our own passive reconnaissance way and what we can get out of it to reach and do a certain kind of an attack from a fully black box perspective. This is the first level, which is level one. Now to jump to level two, which is the gray box testing, which is in the middle between black and white, which is, before getting into the white or into the gray, let me tell you about the white. The white is the extremely positive, extremely difference from the black box, which requires the pen test to know everything about the tool, the structure, the backend, the database, the flow. They will have like user access to test like a certain logic, business logic kind of access, or something around that. So when we talk about gray, gray is in the middle. So we act as a black, but we usually ask for two kind of users to test the flow without getting into the source code, into the flow, the documentations, into whatever we have in place. So efforts, it always change whenever we talk a black, then a gray, then white. The most one that gets efforts is the white box, because it has to be like a lot of collaboration with organizations. Now, the different types we have, it ranges between network penetration test. Network, when we speak about network, is similarly when we have like your own home. So you usually secure your home from outside, and usually depends on what you have as materials inside your home or as a valuable stuff inside your home. You always try to always secure your inside. So we can, for example, maybe you will put a safe to put all your valuable stuff in it inside your home, and you will start to put like a certain physical security aspects from outside. So the network parameter is when you try to do like an external pen test and then an internal pen test to see what are the gaps from outside, to go from outside to inside, and then to see how we can do privilege escalations, or how we can do lateral movements to reach for the safe. And then we will try to guess the password to open the safe and get the valuable stuff and go outside. So all of these depends on the type of testing we do. So black box, we will not do any kind of preparation. It will be fully black box. White box, we should monitor, we should check, we should see, we should understand, we should do a lot of things. Gray box is something in the middle. Now, web application, mobile application, they are almost the same, because nowadays we know that applications differs from mobile and web. We have this habit now that most of the people around the world, they now know how to use the mobile phones and the importance of the mobile applications. The same goes for the web applications. So Usually we check on these aspects, depends of its financial related, telecom related, payment service. We check about the business logics, about the flows, about the APIs. We've talked around APIs already, so I'll keep more the floor to Tega later on, maybe to go more deep in this. Um, Jumping to wireless penetration tests, social engineering, physical cloud, all these kinds of tests are just to see your data where it is stored. Like wireless basically is a door to reach a certain internal network. Social engineering is a way to guess or is a way to have like an internal kind of threat directly or indirectly, depends on your social engineering scenario you have in place. Maybe you impersonate, maybe you fake your identity, you do a lot of stuff. Physical is similar to what I've mentioned for the example for around the home, the physical inspections. So we go and check physically the customer, the company, the organization, if they are physically ready for any kind of physical breach, physical security breach. So we make sure around everything in that aspect. And finally, the cloud, which is a big word. I remember 3 years, 4 years, 5 years back, cloud pen test was as if we're hearing or we're watching something very bad on the TV. So we used to be freaking out. No, I don't want to put my data on the cloud. Now it's more different. So we're seeing a lot of cloud setups. Maybe it could be local cloud. Because we know for a fact depends on the regulations and data regulations in place. So it could be a local cloud configuration, and it could be like a global cloud configuration with a specific access, specific actions. But nevertheless, it's important to do a pen test just to see your publicly facing applications, how they are secured and how they are managed. GRC and in governance, as I was saying, 15 years ago, it was like we need to be compliant with this specific regulation. Our internal governance is pushing for this to be ticked in the box. Our enterprise risk detected that there is a risk behind this application. These are still in place. And not only that, these are more and more evolving. So we can see a lot of regulations that push customers to implement and to have at least once a year a penetration test. Depends on the regulation. Certain regulation requires twice a year with the closures, with a plan, with everything in place. Now, how pen test would help in the GRC or vice versa, how GRC would help in pen test. Usually it provides this legal protection. So nowadays, companies and organizations has to be secured legally and protected legally. And the only way to do that is to do this kind of check on what they have as publicly facing apps or internal apps to make sure that I'm safe. Okay, I'm legally safe. If someone goes to state that I need to go for a legal kind of act with you, you will be safe. You will be confident that you are protected. You've done already what you want to do. So this is one aspect. Business alignment. At the end of the day, GRC is an alignment between high-level segregation between different departments. So you will start to align with business, with you will start to align with risk, with audit, with different teams. This alignment will create the confidence again within the team. Now, audit readiness, which is an important stuff because now in the financial we might have a certain audit from, let's say, XYZ regulation. I don't want just to hints on a specific regulation now. So XYZ regulation need to perform a specific audit on the organization. So you as an organization should be ready for this audit, should have like a specific reports in place in hand to provide them with everything in place. So this is another thing, effective remediation, because now you will see people providing their time, their aspects to discover gaps for the remediations to be in place, and finally have a standardization in place between the tests and to increase this collaboration and trust between the customer and the end user, the customer and the company, the organization. Now, lastly, I believe to cover my point, if I'm not mistaken, uh, CISO. So now we are always hearing about that the CISO is doing his best to secure the environment. The CISO is always pushing for fixes for gaps. The CISO is a bit tough when it comes to cybersecurity, which, trust me, guys, which is something really important. Sorry. Which is something really important nowadays, because without having a CISO in place, this increases the enterprise risk a lot, because now we, as stated, we are in a evolving presence of attacks and hackers. So it's an important thing to be in place, and he is doing a great job. So whenever you see a CISO in the roads walking, just greet him and say thank you. He's similar to the doctor, he's similar to the engineer, to a lot of other kind of jobs. So they are doing their jobs. So how usually we as a penetration testers help these CISOs? The way we help them is we will try to do like tabletop exercises or real world kind of exploitable gaps and tests to reveal them for the CISO, for him to be able to know his risk, to know his gaps, to know his abilities, to know his readiness in case anyone tries to harm the environment or the company. It also validates the effectiveness of the controls. So we know for a fact regulations also push for internal blue team like SOC, like EDR, like monitoring, like firewalls, WAF, API, a lot of other stuff inside. So also this other factor is important, because this will show the CISO the effectiveness of the security controls, and will covers also the gaps, not only on the technology that we are testing, also on the security controls in place. It map the findings to the risk. So at the end of the day, it gives a severity out of each finding based on the finding itself, if it's lateral movement, if it's internal, exploitable, not exploitable, a lot of factors that comes in mind. So it gives this mapping for the CISO for him to prioritize the fix from critical findings, then to focus on the high, then on the medium, depends on the business, and not to impact at the end the business. We cannot just turn off the application, do the fixes, and then after 2 weeks turn it on back. This will impact big time the business, and it will goes in a street, a lot of losses there. So it cannot be in place. It also provide measurable baselines, again, because at the end of the day we always see that in numbers and POCs, in observations. So pentest provide evidence, provide confidence for the CISO to see these security baselines. Strategic planning and roadmaps, I believe I've already covered that when I talked about the risk. And finally, the continuous improvement. The more we have improvements, closures, the more we can be up to the level for everyone, from the company, the organization, from the CISO level, from the COO level, from the CFO level, from the legal team. Everyone will be happy. So I've tried, guys, to cover it from a high level perspective without going into too much technical. I believe now we have like a big idea around who are the hackers, who are the pen testers, what the pen testers usually do, and what the hackers usually do. So now for the technical aspect, I'll leave the floor to my colleague Tega, who will go through the different methodologies we have in place. We'll give like an examples, who will show you later part after part. So Tega, I'll give you the floor now, and thanks everyone for now. I'll be with you again at the end in the Q&A, but now I believe you will start to hear another voice. So enjoy the technical aspect of this masterclass. I believe I will Try to speak until Tega figures out the issue with his microphone. Tega, try to speak now.
Hi, Mo, can you hear me?
Yep, you are audible now. Sorry, guys. I will switch back off. Back to you, Tega.
All right, thank you, Mo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to also from wherever we're joined in. I It's a privilege to be in your midst. Okay, so I'm going to pick up from where Mo stopped. Mo, please, since you're sharing your screen, could you help me take it to the next slide? Thanks.
Currently, it's on the different methodologies, Tega, so you
Okay,
can
yeah.
start. Don't know if it's viewable at
Yeah,
your end.
yeah.
Okay, go
That's what I
ahead.
have here. All right, thank you so much. Before we dive into the methodology that we have on screen, I'd like to just lay a little emphasis on the aim of cybersecurity or the goal of cybersecurity, right? So basically, when you hear cybersecurity, the goal of it is to ensure that data remains confidential, that data still has its integrity and is available to whoever wants to have access to it. And then these methodologies that we're going to look into just speaks to how we can ensure that we are compliant to the cybersecurity goals and try to prevent threat actors from causing a breach to either the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. Right. So I know that I don't want to assume that most of us understand what confidentiality, integrity, and availability is, or just touch on them before we go into the methodologies. So when we hear confidentialities, it refers to ensuring that sensitive information sensitive information is only accessed by only authorized individuals. So take for example, we have let's say myself and Mo. I tell him something sensitive, or let's say he's my let me just bring it down. Like Mo is my guy, right? And I tell him, oh, give him a gist and say, okay, do you know what? This is between both of us. And then I'm hearing my gist from another person. Means just the data confidentiality has been broken by between Mo and myself, right? Meaning that that sensitive information I've given him an unauthorized person has gotten access to it, right? So coming back to cybersecurity, when we talk of confidential information, we speak to personal personal identifiable information, more or less like your bank verification number, your NIN, any information that can be tied back to you as an individual, right? So yeah, so that's speaking about that, one way to ensure or one measure to implement to ensure that we have confidentiality implemented whereby our information is not being disclosed to an unauthorized personnel. One way organizations can go about that is to ensure that there's an encryption between their external facing application or any application that your end user is going to have access to. So one way to do that is to create web applications to enforce HTTPS, right? Hypertext Transfer Protocol security against HTTP, which transmits information in like clear text and not being encrypted. So take for example, we have our bank application where we are logging in and then it's using HTTP as its means of transmitting information. You can easily identify a secure link from a non-secure link on your web browser. You see a padlock sign on the top left corner and on your top left corner. So once you see that padlock sign, it just means that okay, yes, that web application is using HTTPS. Okay, so enough of that. Let's move on to integrity. So when we speak of integrity, it just says that okay, the information that you have that you're transmitting remains accurate and complete. So um let's say I give Mo and maybe his and Christy, let's say Mo and Christy, I say, okay, what do you want me to get for you? Write it down on a piece of paper and drop it on the table. And then I come to the table and Mo was the first person to drop his request on the table, and Christy came and saw that oh, one more puts is bigger than what she wrote down. So she just quickly swaps the position of the paper. Meanwhile, I already know that okay, on the left hand side is where Mo was supposed to put his, and on the right hand side is where Christy is supposed to put hers. Then Christy does the swap, and then I get them the gift, and Mo is complaining that no, this is not what I wrote. and I'm like, okay, you kept your paper on the left-hand side, and I got you what you wrote on the table. Meanwhile, Christy is happy because she knows what has happened, right? So at that point, it means that the integrity of that data that was dropped has been compromised, right? So a quick way to fix this is to like maybe say, okay, Mo, when you write it again, just put your signature on the paper, and then Christy does the same thing. So one way of ensuring that integrity is implemented rather is with I'm going too deep, but yeah, adding your signature. Let's just leave it as that. Okay, then also doing input validation at some points. With the furtherance of this presentation, we'll speak to that. Or before I move on, let me just say, okay, access control so can also be, yeah, hashing. I didn't want to go into that, but thank you so much for your response on the chat. So we can also have access control to speak to integrity, right? So if I say, okay, whenever Mo drops his paper, he should just maybe lock it or glue it to the table so it can't be removed or something like that. And as one of our participants puts hashing, right? I would not want to go into that so that I'm not tempted to start explaining. Okay, next on the list is availability. So availability just simply refers to ensuring that your data is available whenever you want to have it, right? So I'll take that again. Availability just refers to ensuring that the authorized users, right, have access to that data they're supposed to have access to whenever they need it. Okay, so I'll just give an example here. So let's say myself, Mo has a kitchen and I have an online store, and then I know that Mo is having more customers coming to his restaurant or place orders to his restaurant. What I can do is I can create like a botnet, right, to send multiple requests to his server to crash his server so that whenever his users want to place an order, they get either this 404 or an error message on the web application just to say that most kitchens websites is down. And then since I'm his big competitor, they rush to me, and then that is a win for me, right? So the goal of cybersecurity is to ensure that confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data is adhered to. So now we are going to come to the methodologies that we have on screen, right? So these methods are more or less like a map or a manual to how one can go about conducting pen tests and ensuring that yes, they adhere to a standard and make sure it's structured and I mean, yeah, so that's just what it is. Let me take that again, right? It's we have this methodologies to like more or less provide a structured approach to conducting your test, right? So first on the list we have the OWASP testing guide, which speaks to web applications, almost no, not only web applications, speaks to applications, web applications, mobile applications, and APIs, application programming interface, right? They're like, okay, so we have the testing OAP's top 10 vulnerabilities that still give a guide to top vulnerabilities that web applications are most likely vulnerable to, or vulnerabilities that the hacker would most likely want to use to uh, look for a breach with, or to breach the confidentiality, just anything I'm saying, just try and relate it to confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data that will be either transmitted via the web application or received from the web server, or vulnerabilities that exist on the web server. I said a fancy word here, vulnerability. So vulnerability just means a weakness or a gap in security. So whenever I have vulnerability, just say, okay, there's a weakness or a gap in the security of that web application, mobile application, or API. So some categories of exploit, or some categories where a hacker would want to try to breach an organization, either using their web application, any of the application that is externally facing, would be to see how they can go about getting information from that application. They try to see how they can get access or uh, see if there's a loophole in the configuration and deployment of that application. They try to bypass authentication or the authorization. I mean, this is what a hacker would most likely want to do, just to ensure that yes, they have a foothold on your asset or on your infrastructure as a whole. So they go about checking, okay, session management, how well did the organization go about ensuring that yes, okay, there's a proper session management implemented, the input validation, error handling. Sometimes you get to see some errors and then you see some codes on your error when a web application is now accessible, right? So some of those highlighted scenarios I just painted will be some ways that a hacker would want to go about exploiting vulnerabilities that might exist on the application. So this OAuth testing guide just gives you a guide on what to check when you're performing your test, just to ensure that yes, you are compliant to the CIA triad, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and then you fix all vulnerabilities are that are associated with those assets or web application or applications that you have linked to your organization. Okay, so
I
I'll move on to
believe
the next.
it's important what Tega provided us within this, because at the end of the day, when we see multiple kind of regulations or kind of frameworks talking about penetration testing, and it's important. This means that it's something that we should focus on. So from OWASP, which is the web application, from the execution standard, which is a standard basically used by most of organizations that perform pen test, by the open source security testing, which is how to use the open source kind of methodologies and access to NIST, which is a known framework and organization, known framework around the globe. So they have like a full guide on how to do an information security testing. MITRE, which is something important on all the techniques we have in place. And finally, the CREST, which is the most standard between all of these as a combination. So thank you, Tega. I believe you've done great by providing this importance methodologies to everyone. So now I'll switch to the next one and give the floor again to you.
Okay, thank you, Mo. So I'll just go to this next slide here, right? So it says importance of positive reconnaissance phase. Now, you hear reconnaissance, it simply just refers to information gathering, right? So we have two types of reconnaissance. We have active reconnaissance and passive reconnaissance. So you wonder what, do you know what? Let me just remove reconnaissance and just stick to information gathering, right? So we have active information gathering where, do you know what? Let me just spin this scenario. So now, sorry, Mo, I'm using you as with my examples. So Mo
Feel
has
free.
this.
Feel free.
Uh,
You're making me the star of the course, so no worries.
so Mo has this lady that he has interest in, right? And I mean, he wants to have a good impression to show her, just to let her know that okay, yes, he has done his due diligence and he knows more one or two about her. So when he strikes the conversation, he could just be like, oh hi, I know that you stay at this place. I know that okay, yes, you went to this school. I know that you have this number of siblings, right? So that type of or do you know, let's start again. Let's start again. So Mo sees somebody, right, in let's say in the cafeteria or in the coffee shop, and then he goes ahead to strike a conversation with her, or let's say him. Let's do him, right? They strike a conversation with him and be like, oh hi, where do you work? What's your name? The guy gives Mo his name. I mean, he already has his name based on the fact that he's interacting with that person, right? So he's gathering information from that person. So Mo goes ahead to ask, okay, where were you born, or where do you stay? How many siblings do you have? Those most some information about the person. That can be said to be information gathering. And then uh
Great, great.
information gathering.
I hope my
Yeah.
wife is not on this call.
Yeah, that is why I
Uh,
that's why that's why I
in
switched to you
another
seeing a
words,
guy and not the lady.
in another words, this is something very important again to work on. And we usually, we as Shelt, we have this as a tool to at least cover the companies with. So we monitor and we check the target profiling, the noise, the social engineering on the different webs in place, deep web, surface web, dark web. So we always have these things in mind. So this tool usually do it from a passive reconnaissance perspective. So we put ourselves in the shoes of the hackers. We try to see what we can benefit from the data we have in mind, and we always try to be proactive, even by closing all of these passive reconnaissance. Because at the end of the day, if a hacker doesn't have a data to at least start from somewhere, this would reach for a specific challenges or a specific issues within his progress, which might block him from succeeding and giving successful attempts. So this is from an importance of this passive reconnaissance phase and what we usually follow and check from that perspective. Now, rules of engagement. Don't know if you've seen the picture now. I've intended to put this army suit kind and the rules of engagement kind of specification, because at the end of the day, the pen test is attempting a real life scenario kind of checks on the web application, mobile application, maybe API integration, security. So all of these in place. So we have to have this engagement and this policy in place. So we have to agree on the rules to ensure that no legal and ethical compliance would triggers. We have to define clearly the scope we have in place with the agreement of the organization and the customer. We have to minimize all the operational risks. Maybe I don't want you to do this specific business logic test, because if you succeed on this, this would affect my operation. So the communication and escalation path, like who should we reach out if we discover a critical finding, who should we talk to, who should we escalate for. So this should be clearly defined from the beginning of the pentest project to be more realistic and controlled testing. So not to go too deep and to try a lot of POCs, a lot of things, at least to get one successful one. So this is where the experience play a big role in it. So you have to know exactly what you're doing, and you have to expect the results of what you're doing as a testing and as a results. And finally, the auditability and the documentation. So you have to document. We have to acknowledge and mention that after doing and fulfilling the full test, we will document this and this and this in place. So this is the importance technically of the rules of engagement document. It will provide the collaboration and the trust between the two different teams, the team of the company doing the pen test and the team of the organization having the pen test in place. Last, I believe the difference now between the mobile API, web, internal and external pen test. The web application pen test, to jump in, I believe Tega gave you a lot of real life scenarios example mentioning the OWASP technique. It's when we go and discovers all the aspects of the features in place, the business logic. We go and check the user access. We go and check the communication between front and back end. We check the dashboards if we can play with the dashboards. We check the session management. A lot of things that could persist inside the web application that we usually go and check, and we act as if we are real attackers to see what we can get out from. And more than that, usually from a gray box perspective, we ask for a users or we register a user if this is a feature available on the web application, and we try to escalate from a user to another to see if we can check further features, to check if we can provide ourselves as admins. Now, mobile application pen test, similar guys again to the web application, but it's more on the phones. So we go and check the API integration between this mobile application, the back end, how the application is doing the communication, what kind of data is shared over this integration, everything around of it. And this comes for the third point, which is the API penetration test. Usually we check for RESTful, for GraphQL, for post, for methods, for data to see if there is any masking, any encryption, anything in place that minimize the risk of having any successful attack in place. Again, internal and external, I believe I've talked about that earlier with the difference in this. So basically, it's important to do them both, because basically when we do the internal pen test, we put ourselves as an insider, malicious insider, or as a malicious breached internal machine to see what we can do from an internal perspective to minimize the risk and to low the aspect of it. From an external perspective, to see if any attacker could be able to do the attack and pass this specific jail or the specific barrier to go inside the network and do any kind of further attacks. So guys, basically this is it from a technical perspective. From a high level perspective, I believe now every one of you would know what is a pen test. Every one of you, if you go and do any discussion with a friend, with a professional, you can answer if he says like gray box, black box, white box, hacktivist, state-oriented, APTs. So I believe we've done our best to give you these info for you to be familiar, and you know now the path, and you know now that the people, they are also from Earth, not from different from Mars or Jupiter, because they have the same minds, but their aims or their goals differentiate between a person to another, and this is why we tag this one as a black box, as a black hat, this one as a white hat, this one as a gray hat. So now I want to give you guys the floor for the Q&As. I'm here, Tega's here, just to answer your questions if you have any, and it will be a pleasure, guys, to answer it, because at the end, the feedback that we get and the questions that we get is always refreshing our minds and our information. So, and it challenges us. So feel free, please, to put your questions in the chat or under the Q&A section, and I'm here available to answer all your questions. I'm just seeing the chat. Someone is asking about the next lecture. I recommend, Paul, if you follow our LinkedIn page, if you follow our website, we always have a new stuff in place. So subscribe to our newsletters, and you will receive the next lecture, and we will see. Maybe what we can cover later. I believe we covered so far the dark web, then now we cover the pen test. Who knows what next will be? So I recommend every one of you to follow our pages, our LinkedIn pages, our website to keep up to date. Is there a difference between a penetration tester and a threat hunter? Indeed, there is a difference. Usually, threat hunter is doing like a kind of hunting a certain threat based on a certain IOC or a certain flow or a certain MITRE technique, while the penetration tester usually is like someone who's doing everything he can do to do the attack. So he tries every kind of methodologies, every kind of an attacks in place. So this is why usually, to be honest, this is a great question. Inside our penetration testing to our customers, we usually ask them, do you want to do like red team versus a blue team? Just to make sure that while we are doing the penetration test, if their SOC team or their blue team is being able to do the threat hunting and to catch us doing these kinds of pen tests. So indeed there is a difference, but in the mindset, it's a bit the same from a technical perspective. They think the same, but from different angles, if I want to put it like that. As important as pen testing is their required coding, or for sure you need programming knowledge, because at the end of the day, if you don't know how to program, how to the difference between programming languages, if you don't know the Python, what is the Python in place, the difference of the difference of different languages, it's important for you to know, because successful attacks, maybe you require to create like a certain maybe language, like a bash script, like a Python script, to do like a certain behavior or attack, and certain POCs also requires for you to know how to define and how to put your POC in place and to do this successful attack. So indeed, it's not required as an advanced for you to create a web application or a backend, or but at least to have the basic knowledge and to be able to detect misconfigurations, to detect, to be able to create simple kind of line of codes for you to enhance your pen test knowledge. Hands-on, as you said earlier, hands-on, Brahim, it's something that we can do, but usually it takes a lot of time, because we need to create with you guys the labs. After creating the labs, we need to prepare the scenarios, to put use cases. Who knows? Maybe this could be the next version 2 of the masterclass. Since now we've gave the introduction, maybe later on we might plan for this, but it could be more than 1 hour, because we have to plan for the lab environment, and we have this hands-on and findings experience. So thank you for this highlight, Ibrahim. Um, Tega's explanation were so relatable. Does this masterclass include any mentorship or follow-up supported beyond this session? You can reach us again. We have our own social media now. I have this info at Shelt. You can follow us. You can reach us. So no problem about that. This is what we do usually. We help our people. For the 1 hour, sorry. How I recognize a vulnerability in a website. This is something that you can check from different perspectives. You have solutions for that to do like automated scans, and you have like manual techniques to be in place to check, to see, and to get a specific vulnerability to. And you need to have the knowledge to see that if it's a confirmed vulnerability or no at the end of the day. Do you train people to become? Usually, depends on what we have in our HR. We usually open internships positions. So keep up following our LinkedIn pages, our websites, just to catch if there is any potential position for that. And for sure, whenever you apply, we train. Depends on what we have. Aside of other item, which is our training academy, that you can reach out also our Shell team, and they can support, because we also have our paid kind of certifications and passes, so they can help you more in that. Uh, we do not train to become, okay. Would you train how to use Python? It could be part of a certain training thing under the training center. So depends case by case, but it's something that we have the expertise, but it's something that we could think of. So required from a pen tester to ask from the client before conducting. Usually there is the NDA. So we sign like an NDA between us and the customer to make sure that nothing is disclosed. We have the ROE document, the one that we talked about within the call. So all of these documents ensures that us as a pen testers and the customer are safe, both are safe, both are aligned on what we have in place as a scope and as tests we need to do. What's the name of the training academy? Follow our website, Anthony. Just go to shelp.com. There is like a section for the training academy. You can reach out the people and you can get more info around that. Aside of following up our LinkedIn for sure, because we always have good news there. Uh, how often did you recommend pen test on the common? It's a great question. Depends on the sector, depends on how big the customer or the organization is, depends on the regulation. Certain regulations requires twice a year. Certain regulations at least one time per year. So it's case by case scenario. There is no kind of straight answer, for this in specific. Uh, what about the get me out of jail card document? I don't know what you mean by this, but inside the ROE, if you're specifically mentioning that if something happened within the test and that affected the business or the tested system, usually again I ensure with the team and I ensure with the leaders on the projects not to do any harmful tests. This is the expertise we have in place. This is our experience. So we don't try random kind of POCs or we don't try random kind of tests. So usually the tests we do, we always expect the outcome of it. So whenever we see that there is like a small risk that it might affect the process, usually we raise it up. But also in parallel, we always recommend for the customers to give us access on a UAT environment, dev environment, if available for these aspects to be minimized or to be removed as a risk at the end of the day. What is the best way to carry out pen test and the application to use? Depends on the structure you have in place. So if it's a web application pen test, so we have to carry out gray box web application pen test. If you have a login page in place and actions and buttons and communication on the back end. If it's a mobile application, we have to do the mobile to check the integrations, the APIs, everything in place. If the organization is a big organization and you have a risk from an external perspective, you have to do external pen tests. So trust me, case by case. Just if you have, if you need any further, for sure you can reach out to our team and they can assist and help you further in this, and they can recommend. We have a specific team that recommends, depends on what you have as a scope, on which kind of project you need to do. How can API be tested for vulnerabilities or attacks since it is not visible or accessible to outsiders? Eventually, it's not visible. I will not use the word visible, but at the end of the day, if you have the web application and you're using it and it's published, or if you have the mobile application and you're using it and it's published, you will see a bit in the back end. You can read, you can see the communication, what's happening from front to back, and you will try to discover what kind of interactions happening from a session management, from API actions, if there is any API in place. So there is certain possibilities around that. It's not like kind of visible or not visible, or it depends on case by case scenario again. So I believe no more questions. Oh, I have something under Q&A, just not to miss it. How often did you recommend pen test on the company? I believe we've answered this. How can API be tested? Also, I believe we've answered this out. Okay, everyone, thank you for attending this call, this masterclass. I believe it was good, at least to understand the bit of the pen test and to master it from knowledge perspective. Maybe later we might think for a further hands-on, which requires more preparation, more time, more efforts from both us and you guys on the call. So for now, I believe, thank you for attending. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your efforts that was done today. And don't know if you can conclude. It's the last chance if you have any last thing to be mentioned. Great, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure for us to give this innovative sessions for you guys. Thank you, everyone.